Error correction. This is a four-part video series by Peggy Marcy, me. So let's start with Hendrickson's questions from 1978. First, he asked, should we correct language errors? Second, when should they be corrected? Third, who should do the correcting? Fourth, which errors should be corrected? And fifth, how should the corrections be made? Let's talk about some of the general answers presented for each. This first video will consider the first three questions. The next video in the series will look at what type of errors there are, and the last two videos will explore ways of providing corrective feedback. So first, should we correct or not? All the research shows that even feedback not shown to have a lot of positive results is better than no feedback. That should comfort a new teacher, because even poorly done correction is better than no correction. I mean, as long as no one is emotionally hurt from the feedback. In other words, anger and yelling are never appropriate feedback. So, since we should make corrections, when should we make them? This is largely a choice between immediate correction or delayed correction. Both have shown some positive results, but immediate correction appears to make the greatest impact on the learner's language choices. However, that does not mean that every error should be immediately corrected, nor should every correction be delayed. It's possible to use a combination. For example, sometimes the instructor wants to focus on communication. In those cases, errors affecting the meaning and understanding will likely be immediately corrected. But other grammar or pronunciation or pragmatic errors may be delayed until after the activity is completed. There are times when fluency is being practiced and is the point of practice, and others where accuracy is the focus. Another factor in this is whether it appears to be an individual problem or something several learners struggle with. Some teachers keep unobtrusive lists of the errors made and by whom. Then, after the same mistake is made a couple of times, they might stop and do an immediate group correction. Afterwards, they may speak with various individuals offering delayed feedback. Now, let's answer the question of who should be involved in error correction. Generally, there are three options: self-correction, peer correction, and teacher correction. For the most part, students and teachers believe that instructors should be responsible for the majority of feedback. However, when students are taught helpful methods of correction, they are willing to attempt it. Self-correction should be increased as the learner improves in their language abilities and skills. So as they get better in the language, they are better at self-correction, or they should have more opportunities at self-correction. While teacher education highly promotes peer correction, where classmates help find each other's mistakes, surveys of students and teachers suggest little trust or respect of this method. I admit that I haven't used a lot of peer correction in speaking classes, except that I know it occurs in pair and group work naturally. If the instructor has created a safe environment, then there should be no negative attitudes attached to peer feedback. When I used peer correction in my ESL writing classes, I spent time explaining the purpose, which was that it was more likely they would find mistakes in their classmates' essay than in their own. Then they could recognize that same issue when they reread their own essay. So I didn't really want them to use peer correction to help the other classmate, but to help themselves. I share this example as a way to say there are lots of reasons for peer correction in the ESL EFL class. And simply helping each other is another reason for peer correction. The next video in this series will look at error types, and then the last two videos will explore corrective feedback types.